Is there really a rebirth of Russian aviation, or is it a false dawn? Even if the rebirth does exist, is it going in the right direction? The perceived rebirth of Russian aviation, especially since the 2010s, has been driven by a mixture of geopolitical necessity, national pride, and industrial strategy. While the scale and global impact remain limited, there has been a deliberate push by the Russian government to revive its domestic aerospace industry, and here are the reasons why. The first is geopolitical isolation and sanctions. Post-2014 sanctions after the annexation of Crimea, and especially the 2022 sanctions following the commencement of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, led to Russia being cut off from all Western aircraft manufacturers such as Boeing and Airbus. Russia can no longer import new airlines or spare parts, forcing a pivot towards self-reliance in civil aviation. Airlines were left with grounded or unsupported Western jets, intensifying the need for domestic alternatives. The second is state-led industrial strategy. The Russian government restructured its aviation sector under United Aircraft Corporation (UAC), bringing together legacy design bureaus like the Sukhoi, Tupolev, Ilyushin, and Yakovlev. The Sukhoi Superjet SSJ-100 and Irkut MC-21 are flagship programs aiming to replace Western regional and medium-range jets. The Irkut MC-21 is now the Yakovlev MC-21, as the same with the Sukhoi Superjet is the Yakovlev SJ-100. The government also provided subsidies, state orders, and protectionist policies to help prop up demand for these new domestic alternatives. Before I talk more about Russia's rebuilding of its aviation sector, I do ask that you subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. This would help the channel grow. I also have a Telegram channel. The link to it is in the description, and there I post interesting short videos which are sometimes funny and amusing, or even informative. Now back to the video. The third is rebuilding strategic capabilities. Civil aviation is considered by the Russian government a strategic industry, critical for transportation, defense, and economic sovereignty. Reviving domestic aircraft production is part of Russia's broader goal of technological independence across sectors, also seen in energy, microchips, and agriculture. Programs like the Il-96-400M or the Il-114-300 and the import substituted SJ-100 and the MC-21 aim to restore a full line of Russian-made planes. The fourth is nationalism and soft power. There is a political and symbolic value in flying Russian-made aircraft. Domestically produced planes serve as a showcase of resilience in the face of Western pressure and sanctions. Media coverage of test flights and prototype launches are often used for internal propaganda. The fifth reason is military and government orders. Unlike the uncertain commercial market, the military and state sectors, example the presidential aircraft, cargo transport, flying laboratories, continue to place consistent orders for Russian aircraft. These contracts provide baseline funding and help maintain production lines even without full commercial viability. As a result of what I have said, there is no doubt that Russian aviation is on the rise, but where exactly it will go is uncertain. Because challenges remain. Production delays, component shortages, and limited global interest persist. Much of the development is state-funded. Without sanctions, many airlines would prefer Boeing or Airbus airlines. The domestic market alone may not sustain all these projects long-term without quality and efficiency improvements, unless of course the Russian budget intends to absorb any losses. However, we must bear in mind that the rebirth of Russian aviation is less about market competition and more about strategic survival. It is a top-down state project driven by necessity, national interest, and economic sovereignty, particularly under sanctions and global isolation. Any country in the position of Russia would, I would argue, do exactly the same thing. Therefore, the steps that they are taking is not surprising, and bear in mind the Soviet history and knowledge in aviation. The country possesses the skills to be able to make this project a success. But however, I look at evidence to come to that conclusion. There is clear improvement, it is rising, but where it will go, only time will tell. And the key element of that will depend very much on safety. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.